Saturday, LSU and Alabama played the biggest game of the season so far in college football, and LSU senior quarterback Joe Burrow was ready for the moment. He shined, throwing for 393 yards and 3 touchdowns, giving the Tigers a 46-41 win over Alabama. And when his team got back to Baton Rouge, their fans were pumped, greeting Burrow and his teammates at the airport. Not a bad moment.
This was a great game, a great moment. Joe Burrow's going to win the Heisman. Everyone in the media that just crushed LSU for hiring Coach O has to just eat crow on that one. He's been awesome for them, and that was a great moment for not only the school but the state of Louisiana.
It's a huge moment, but there's a lot of big moments left that they need to still get ready for. And
if they're going to win the national championship, but even if they don't win the national championship, this is now a successful season for LSU. They hadn't beaten Alabama in nearly a decade. In order to show that you can go there and beat them on their turf, to me, is a huge hurdle for the program moving forward.
I don't think anybody's going to be celebrating if they don't win the national championship.
Well, it would be odd to celebrate after a loss, but I'm just telling you, once you have the lens of history.
Great game, great composure out of Burrow that whole day from start to finish to the very end.
Burrow was sensational.
Yep. All right, time now for stories to start your morning. Start with the Saints. They hosted the lowly Atlanta Falcons. They were 2 touchdown favorites coming in, and they were losers going out. Drew Brees sacked 6 times as the Falcons, who had won just 1 game all season, got the upset win 26-9. Nick, were you surprised that New Orleans dropped one at home to Atlanta?
Oddly enough, I probably wasn't as surprised as most, just because I thought this could be a sneaky game for New Orleans, because it's a divisional opponent coming off a bye, and you might think, oh, well, coming off a bye, but did they look past Atlanta because Atlanta struggled so much? An enormously important loss for New Orleans when it comes to the playoff picture and their ability to get the bye that really counts come the postseason. But Atlanta's been underachieving to their talent all year, Coach. They had Matt Ryan back. They finally played a good game, most notably their best defensive game in years.
Yeah, I'd say that Atlanta's dramatically underachieved, and it's amazing when you've got one team that's desperate, and they are fighting for Dan Quinn's job and for some continuity, and you got another team that thinks, oh, we're definitely going to win this. We've got Drew Brees. We've been so successful already, and you just get caught in that moment.
All right, moving on. Cowboys were hosting the Vikings last night. Despite a great game out of Dak Prescott, 28-46, almost 400 yards, 3 touchdowns, just 1 interception, Dallas still couldn't beat the Vikings. They lose and drop to 5-4 on the season. Coach, despite the Cowboys' loss, how impressive was Dak in this one?
This is one of the most impressive games I've seen Dak play. And when you can't run the ball like Dallas struggled last night, for Dak to be able to come up big, and especially on those long 3rd downs where everybody knew he had to pass, was very impressive.
Dak was, you see the 1 interception, if you didn't stay up late to watch the game, it was the final play of the game on a Hail Mary that actually he gave his players a chance for, like it was a legitimate Hail Mary. He played great. It's why it's so disappointing. The ball was essentially taken out of his hands at the final drive, in the final moments of that final drive. But Dak was sensational. You mentioned it, Coach. During the comeback, 5 3rd down conversions of 3rd and 7+, 3 on 3rd and 10+. This was as good of a game as Dak has played all year and maybe in a few years.
But with the loss, Cowboys and Eagles now tied atop the NFC East. Right on to the New England Patriots. They're using their bye week to stay out of the headlines, unless, of course, you consider a potential return of Rob Gronkowski newsworthy. Reports are that last season, when Gronk was cleaning out his locker, Robert Kraft came up to him, told him he wanted the tight end to return for November, December, and a playoff run this season. So, Coach, do the Patriots need Gronk to return for them to lock up their 7th Lombardi trophy?
Well, it's so interesting that somehow people brought what was said last year at the end of the season into this moment. Those things are said, and they're offhanded remarks. Would Gronk be a great addition to New England? Yeah, he'd be a great addition. But when you see him on TV and you see the things he's doing, it doesn't look like he's spending a ton of time in the weight room. It doesn't look anywhere near what he looked like when he was playing football. It's not that easy just to jump back on the field, especially if you're a guy who has a history of injuries, you haven't been training for football, and then suddenly everybody thinks that you're going to come in and be able to perform at a high level. It's not easy to do, and I'd be shocked if they even get close to talking about it.
And by the way, there's a drop-dead date for this. Shortly, a few days after Thanksgiving is when, if he's not back on the roster by then, he's not able to come back this season for the playoffs. So this isn't something that in the middle of December he could decide, you know what, just for the playoffs. So we'd have a few weeks to know whether this is or isn't happening. I would be shocked if he comes back. Not only because what we see him doing with Fox. A couple months ago, the Maverick and LeBron show, the shop, was taped here in New York City. And I was at the taping, and Gronk was there. Gronk seems so happy with what he's doing right now. So, and all of his public comments are, public and private comments, it would appear, are that football was wearing on him. Now, that doesn't mean he won't
Not just physically.
But no, that's what I mean, mentally. That the grind of it, that he needed a break from it. What are you laughing about, Coach?
Well, look, sometimes Gronk was in a great situation because Gronk just being able to be Gronk at some other team might not have been the best thing for his career.
Sure.
He goes to New England where things are set in stone and there's a way to do things, and that discipline, I think that helped him significantly. But it is hard. It is hard in New England. And so
there's the brutality of football, no matter who you play for, especially the way Gronk played, which was as bruising of a style as a tight end in the modern NFL can play, and a great blocker, and a guy who went over the middle and took hits. You saw the body armor he would have to wear at this point in his career. And the mental part of it, which you're talking about, which is day in, day out. Doesn't matter that on a per-game basis, he might be the best tight end ever, that he's 1 of 53 in the meeting room. So I do not believe Rob Gronkowski's coming back this year. I do believe there's a reason all of a sudden this story came up, is because people are starting to realize something that I've been saying for the better part of 6 weeks. This Patriot offense is mediocre. This Patriot offense needs an injection of talent. It needs not only an injection of pass catching, but of blocking. Tom Brady needs someone that can give him a little extra time in the pocket, and that sometimes was Rob Gronkowski. It wasn't just that he was the guy they went to on the third and got to have it. It's that he was the guy who helped set the edge on their running plays. And so with no James Devlin, with the injuries on the offensive line, with the rotating cast of characters they've had at tight end, you know why they would want even a 75% Rob Gronkowski. I just don't think if Rob Gronkowski has any inclination to play football again this season. Now, I'm not saying he will never come back, but this season, it would be shocking to me.
No, they have had an infusion of talent. They've picked up Mohamed Sanu. N'Keal Harry's going to be back here at some point. Ben Watson is starting to get more incorporated into the offensive system. It's just hard for a guy to come off the street and perform at a level that he's used to performing at, especially with his injury history, and especially in a system that's as demanding as New England's is, and add to the fact that you haven't been working out. You haven't been training like a football player, so it's hard to believe he could come back and make a meaningful contribution.
All right, let's take a break there. Coming up, did the Packers just put the whole NFC on notice? Still ahead on First Things First.